Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. Tonight, like all nights, we are recapping the week's nerdy news from the spice mines of Kessel to nowhere and everywhere in between. My name is Mike Gibson. With me, as always, is Mr. Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
Pure exhaustion, Mike. Pure exhaustion.
Pure exhaustion.
So, if anyone is watching, I am running on fumes solely because it was my son's birthday this weekend, and things go crazy when you have a small human that has a birthday. So,
Yeah,
it's been a rip of a weekend, and we're here to try and finish it off with some high energy discussion for your listening pleasure.
That's right. And pretty packed episode.
Very weirdly packed episode.
And I know, like, the rundown is longer than normal because there's a lot of quotes and I'm like typing out a lot of stuff. Some of these stories we won't talk about, I think, as long as it will take me to like read them.
Yeah.
But they're important stories. But there's a couple of them are enough for Steve and I to go off and talk and make this a 3-hour episode if we're not careful. So we're going to dive right in. But before we do that, we're going to say that you should check us out on Patreon, and you should subscribe to us to get cool stuff from us on Patreon.
/ The Multiverse Report.
The Multiverse Report. And also that this podcast is sponsored by Funky Town Comics and Vinyl in Camillus, New York. Wonderful comic book store, which I was not able to visit this week, fortunately.
I did.
Hoping a more successful comic book. I did do some reading, though. I gotta say, I did catch up on
there you go.
many comic book reads. So,
including one we can go into that was, I love that you caught that panel. So Mike was reading the latest issue of Poison Ivy.
Yeah.
And
not the latest one, the one previous that I hadn't read yet.
Gotcha. Yeah. So he was catching up on Poison Ivy, and all of a sudden I get a text. Hey, is this a reference to House of M? And then I didn't read it for like multiple hours. I looked at the timestamp. I'm like, oh shit, he sent that a long time ago.
Yeah.
But
I thought it was. I was just like getting his. I was like, this has to be right.
Yep.
Like,
like down to the framing and like.
The framing is what makes it. I wouldn't have thought twice about it if it wasn't the framing of her lips in that way, saying no more mushrooms instead of no more mutants. So it's just like, this has got to be a House of M reference, which is cute, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and at first it was hilarious because the way, you know how sometimes when you get text messages, only certain things pop up and you don't like. I didn't see the picture.
Right.
All I saw was, is this a reference to HOM? And in my brain, I wasn't processing what HOM meant.
Okay.
I was like going through, I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? And not realizing that you also sent a picture with it.
Sure.
So, and that happened, like I was driving and it popped up in front of me on my, like, while my phone was sitting there. And I'm like, I wonder what that is. So the rest of the drive from my parents' house to my house, I'm sitting there thinking, wonder what Mike thinks. What could HOM be? Well, it wasn't. I didn't even register that House of M was what you were talking about. I'm like, HOM. Okay. And then I parked and I looked at my phone and I'm like, oh, House of M. Yes, that's definitely a reference to that.
100%. Yes.
Yep. So.
And that's tangent number 1 in the books.
Absolutely.
Before we even get to the first story, which, speaking of House of M, which is a Marvel thing. We're going to talk a little bit Marvel. Not comics, though.
Of which Spider-Man was technically in.
He was in House of M. Yeah. Briefly, right?
He had a whole side series.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
I definitely didn't read that part.
Oh, yeah.
I only read the main.
I only read the main up until last year. I tackled the entirety of House of M. Or no, it was the beginning of this year when I started my stupid
when you were trying to read 1,000 comics in 1 year.
I think I'll end up finishing at like 600, which I feel like that's probably still reasonable.
Quite a bit.
I stopped tracking at like 400. So
yeah, we haven't gotten an update in a while.
It's been
I knew you were kind of giving it up. Yeah.
Well, the rest of life happened, and I was like, "There's no chance in hell this is gonna happen." So.
Yeah. Anyway, Spider-Man. Specifically Spider-Man 4, the next installment of the Tom Holland Spider-Man series. has a director.
Mm.
Now, Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home were all directed by Mr. John Watts, who has moved on to
Star
I guess
Wars.
Far, Far Away.
Yeah.
And he's doing Skeleton Crew. But the director for Spider-Man 4 apparently is going to be a gentleman by the name of Destin Daniel Cretton. You may remember that name because he was the one that directed Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings for Marvel. He has also done the Wonder Man series for the MCU. He is currently in talks to take the reins of Spider-Man 4, and things are looking like it's going to go that way. Now, there's been a lot of clamor for fans of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings for a sequel to that movie. CM Liu being the most vocal on social media about wanting a sequel to Shang-Chi. I don't know if you follow him on Threads, but he will regularly respond to just random people who are talking about wanting a sequel to Shang-Chi. Unfortunately, those people are going to have to wait because Destin Daniel Cretton is now looking like he's jumping over to Spider-Man instead of coming back to Shang-Chi. However, it has also been reported, I heard this today on an episode of the Hot Mic podcast. If you will remember, Daniel Cretton was originally going to be the director on Avengers 5. When Avengers 5 was called Avengers Kang Dynasty. Now it's been changed to bewilderingly star Robert Downey Jr. and is called Avengers Doomsday. But when it was Kang Dynasty, Destin Daniel Cretton was going to be the one directing it. And apparently, according to reports, Kang Dynasty was effectively going to be Shang-Chi 2, with Shang-Chi taking a big lead role in that film. And many of his side characters were going to be very strongly placed in that film, I guess. But now they scrapped that idea totally. So now Shang-Chi 2, it's in the wind. Is it ever going to happen? Who knows? Certainly not in the next couple of years with Destin Daniel Cretton, anyway, because he's going to be doing Spider-Man. So there have been lots of talk and back and forth and rumors and hearsay regarding the setting of Spider-Man 4 moving forward after the crazy multiversal events of No Way Home. And the reports that I have read have more or less said that Sony, who owns the character of Spider-Man, remember that they have a deal with Disney and Marvel to use Tom Holland in MCU Disney-produced films. However, the character is owned by Sony, and any of those Tom Holland Spider-Man films are technically Sony movies, not Disney movies. It's a whole complicated thing. So apparently Sony wanted to continue with all this multiverse stuff for Spider-Man 4 and do another big epic multiversal crazy thing. Right. Whereas Marvel was ready to pull it back and to go a more street level route. I've been hearing lately that Sony may have won that battle, or at least are willing to kind of split the difference, but ultimately end up in some kind of multiversal thing. You know what, Steve? Before I go into this last thing, I should have stopped already, but I'm going to pump the brakes before we go into those next. There's a lot of rumors swirling Spider-Man 4. And a lot of those rumors were put out this week by people of varying levels of credibility. So we'll get to that in a second. I'm going to go back to the director thing. Destin Daniel Cretton directing Spider-Man 4. Steve, what do you think of this call?
I think I really enjoyed Shang-Chi, so I'd assume that's going to be a solid choice. I mean, he's proven he can do the mystical thing. I don't know if they go the street level route, if, what level he would, I guess, what quality he would bring to that. But if they go a little more fantastical, he's at least proven that he can handle something in the weird realm, or, strictly fantastical. I don't know. I enjoyed the movie. I would enjoy what his take would be on Spider-Man. All I keep thinking about from everything you just said, though, is that, as always, Sony finds a way to take a good thing and completely screw it up.
Yeah.
Like, if they're the ones that want to keep the multiverse thing going when literally nobody else wants to. Like, the only good multiverse movie that's gotten put out wasn't even a superhero movie.
Oh,
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it
Deadpool
boggles my
Wolverine is
mind.
pretty good.
Well, yeah, I guess
But
the
that's
definition. But that's almost a satirical.
it's also making
take
fun of
on, right.
multiverse stuff at the same time. Yeah,
Right.
it's a parody while
Mhm.
being the thing that it is.
It's perfectly a Deadpool movie.
Yeah. I think Destin Daniel Cretton is a solid choice for Spider-Man 4.
Yeah.
Personally, what I'm looking for out of the MCU is like something newness, a new look, a new feel, and to have someone that's like entrenched already in the MCU machine is a little like, meh, okay, fine.
Well, he's
However,
entrenched, but he's entrenched with a single movie and
a series, Wonder Man series, which we haven't seen yet.
that we don't even know if it exists or whatever.
Like, it definitely exists.
Well, we know it
It's been
exists,
shot.
but we never know if it's. We don't know if it's ever going to see the light of day, or who knows.
Oh, well, we all more than that. We don't know if it's good.
Right.
We haven't seen
also
it.
True.
So that's what I'm saying. That's a question mark.
No, that would be a little more street level feel for him. So if that series is pretty solid,
crossed.
then maybe that's.
Yeah.
Well, again, I keep going back to the street level as if that's going to happen for Spidey, but who the hell knows?
But we don't really know. Yeah. I liked Shang-Chi. Okay, I should watch it again. I remember thinking it was okay, but something I really did think there was a lot of cool visuals in it, and the fight choreography was outstanding.
Yep.
For sure. That was my favorite thing about that movie. So if we're gonna get cool fight choreography, but also one of those characters that's doing the cool fighting is Spider-Man, that'll be awesome. So that part is exciting to me as well. I think it was it Jeff Snyder that I heard talking about this, saying that he understood this as a Destin Daniel Cretton to Marvel kind of being like use me or lose me kind of thing.
Right.
Like, if we're not moving forward with Shang-Chi 2, you got to give me something or I'm going out or I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah.
And, if they don't want to lose him, they got to give him something. So they're giving him Spider-Man 4. Doesn't mean he's a bad choice for it.
I'm sorry. Like, you give the ultimatum and then you just hand him it's like handing the keys to the BMW to the 17-year-old.
I'm sure it was a little more nuanced than
no,
that,
but
Steve.
like in my brain when you said that, I was like, okay, well, you know what? You could walk away or we could give you arguably the most successful franchise that we have. Go.
Well, they were already giving him the Avengers.
True. Which
so,
I believe if there's probably, recordings of us talking about when that was announced of like, really? Okay, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But they trusted him for that. So if they can trust him for that, they can trust him for Spider-Man.
Yeah, I guess so.
So all that being said, I really would prefer them to go with a street level version of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
For Spider-Man 4.
Would.
I know there's people that like the multiverse version of that character. I don't know. Social media is our own curated little bubble of echo chamber, right? So, but I do happen to see a lot of people on things like Threads saying like it has to be street level. It's not street level. I'm out, kind of stuff like that. Who knows?
If it's not street level, it's not Spider-Man.
That is how I feel.
Like Spider-Man in space, Batman in space don't work. Like
they don't.
They're grounded characters for a reason.
You can't say they 100% don't work because there are versions of those characters and versions of those stories that do work very classically. Spider-Man doesn't go to space. He doesn't get the black suit. You know what I mean? Like that's a story, Spider-Man story that works.
Correct.
Because of the context it's told in. And similar with Justice League stories where Batman goes to space. But I know what you're saying, and I'm agreeing with you that the core of the character, I feel, belongs in a grounded way, especially after we just had a huge multiverse movie. But what, that movie make like $2 billion or something? Like, of course, Sony's seeing dollar signs. That's Sony's problem. You mentioned Sony always finds something and ruins it because Sony chases money. Sony doesn't seemingly, I don't know this firsthand, but from all of Sony's actions and announcements and films that they made, it seems that they're after dollars and not a quality film.
Right.
So they see a movie that made $2 billion and they see what it's about and they're like, more of that, more of
we
that,
should do that
more
again.
of that.
Yeah.
We should do it again until it's dead.
Instead of, hey, we did that and we cashed in on that, but maybe people want to see something different. We've already, because again, it goes back to us with comics.
Yeah.
Where, an arc goes on too long, you drop the book.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not on your pull anymore. If the comic or if the movie arc goes on too long, it ain't going to be that $2 billion baby anymore.
Right.
So,
right.
We'll see. And I think we're at that point with Spider-Man where a lot of people after No Way Home, I think a lot of people really enjoyed No Way Home, myself included, the first time I watched it, but then went back to watch it and saw a very different movie and saw a lot more of what you saw the first time.
Yeah.
Which is kind of where I am, where like I've seen that movie twice and I probably will not watch it again.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into these rumors now. Being reported by various sites, as I said. So take everything I'm about to say, take with a huge grain of salt, because I don't know how true these are or how not true they are.
Right.
It's being reported that apparently the street level version of the film, when it was being developed, could have featured more grounded villains such as Prowler, Scorpion, or Kingpin, with a possible team up with Daredevil, and possibly introducing a live action Miles Morales. Which all that sounds great to me, to be honest.
Very much so.
Now there is a rumor. And Steve, have you seen the newest trailer for Venom: The Last Dance, the third Venom movie?
I have not seen it, but I know what happens.
Apparently, in that I have watched it just for the story. In that trailer, they mention the villain Null, whether that's Knull for non-comic readers. Null is the king of symbiotes, or god
the
of
father
symbiotes,
of the symbiotes.
Right? Yeah, created them, whatever.
A Ryan Stegman and Danny Cates creation, or Donny Cates creation, who, as soon as that trailer dropped, were effectively all over social saying, "You're really featuring Null and not even crediting or giving us any acknowledgement."
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
That feels like a Sony move too.
Oh, 100%. Like they were the only creative team that's used Null.
Yeah.
Or I don't know since, but like that.
It was a fairly
Venom
recent
run was what created Null.
Yeah, and he's a fairly recent character, right? To my knowledge.
It would have been like 2018-ish, somewhere in there.
Right. Yeah. Pretty quick creation to film jump there. That character is mentioned in Venom, the trailer for the third Venom movie. I don't know if how much he's going to be in it, if he's actually the big bad or not, but the rumor now is people are saying that Null could be the big bad in Spider-Man 4, and that movie could feature a team up with Tom Hardy's Venom returning. And Steve,
thank you for making me not excited about a movie.
when I read that sentence or that rumor or finished typing it, I just thought in my head, for the first time I realized there's a chance that I may never enjoy another live action Spider-Man movie in my life. What are we doing?
This is why we can't have nice things.
What are we doing? This sounds insane. It sounds stupid, and it's nothing that I ever want.
Yeah, that tracks. I would have no desire to. I would end up watching that movie. I would have no desire to watch that movie.
I would watch it. I would see it.
Right.
Because I like Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Like, he's so good as Spider-Man.
And weirdly,
that I would watch him in that role no matter what. But I will also watch him and be like, I hate this movie.
But I also like Tom Hardy as Venom. But they're two very diametrically different takes on those characters. Like, and the goofy Tom Hardy Venom like symbiosis, that has its shtick in the Venom movies. Sure, cool.
Yes, it's its own thing. But its own thing.
Right. That version of Venom interacting with Tom Holland's Spider-Man just doesn't. I don't have the faith that Sony could put something together like that and not find a way to completely botch it.
I agree. And above all, for me, it is still not the relationship that we want to see between these two characters. Because
Correct.
it's just it just doesn't work the way that Sony has set up and created their Venom. That's a different thing. And Venom and Spider-Man are fun together because of their history and how they are related.
Yeah.
That's how they work together. Throwing the two of them together who have never met each other, you don't have that history. And you know that Tom Hardy's Tom Holland's never had a black suit. So they're just not connected in that way. They're not the same. It's just like, why bother? Why bother pairing them up when there's nothing to pair? They're two completely disparate characters that have literally nothing to do with each other in this world as you have given it to us. There's no reason to pair them up, and there's no reason for me to be excited about them being paired up. Because of the situation you have put them in, because of the universe you have created and given to us, where they are not connected in any way. So it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter to anybody. So if this is true, you're right. It's another huge mistake from Sony Pictures. Hopefully it's not true, or hopefully it's something different. I mean, I felt like the null rumor thing didn't really hold too much water. It just felt like trailer came out this week where they mentioned his name, so now somebody's saying, oh, he's going to be the big bad in Spider-Man 4.
Right.
Like, we got a trailer for Venom 3 and we got news on Spider-Man 4, so like, oh, maybe they're connected and let's put them together. Like, I don't know about that. So,
and if so,
anyway,
time to go buy a copy of ASM 300.
300? What happens in 300? That's the
first Venom.
First Venom. Yeah, okay.
It's that, the iconic Todd McFarlane
yes.
Swinging like Spidey in the black suit with the web coming out. Yeah.
I knew that was the cover.
Yep. So that's the first Venom. Well, first full Venom. I think there was either a cameo or allusion to him in something prior.
Yeah, like the punching of the wall with the symbiote coming down the arm was like the first hint.
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
So
anyway, I hope none of that's true, because I would like to enjoy a live action Spider-Man movie again. And I haven't enjoyed the last two. I didn't like Far From Home. I didn't like No Way Home. So, you know what it is? Here's a way an analogy. If Sony rushing, chasing dollar signs, not taking their time, not setting up the relationships between these characters in a way that means anything. They're just trying to bang things out.
Yeah.
No Way Home is Batman versus Superman. Spider-Man 4, if they continue with this, would be Justice League, I think. Like making a sequel to something that doesn't make sense. So the sequel can't possibly make sense and makes even less sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what that would be. They would be Justice Leaguing Spider-Man. And I know there's a lot of people that love Batman v Superman, but there's a lot of people that love No Way Home. I think No Way Home is a better movie than Batman v Superman. Don't get me wrong. Like,
right.
I don't mean
this is Mike, who notoriously does not like No Way Home.
Yeah, I don't.
So we can all agree that Batman v Superman.
Yeah, Batman v Superman just makes me angry when I watch it. I just get actively furious. Spider-Man No Way Home, I just think is a bad movie, or a lazy movie.
No Way Home has moments. Batman vs Superman has like very minimal moments.
I think there's a couple moments, but
right.
Yeah.
Fewer and far between.
Fewer and far between. No Way Home is a lazy movie. Batman v Superman is an incompetent mess.
There we go. Yep.
Come at me, internet. Those are two real. I just infuriated two different rabid fan bases with one sentence.
With one sentence that said nothing wrong.
Yeah. Anyway,
can we just give me like Spider-Man versus Shocker or Chameleon or something?
That's what I'm saying.
Hey.
Give me a live action Tom Holland Spider-Man movie where Prowler is the villain.
Yeah.
Played by Donald Glover, and it introduces Miles Morales. And then you get a live action Miles Morales movie.
Give me Peter against Mr. Negative. Like,
Mr. Negative was mentioned in the same article that said possibility of Scorpion or Kingpin or Prowler, like a street level villain.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love, give me Kingpin Like, that's a way you get multiple villains that make sense. You have Kingpin hiring different
Oh yeah.
villains, Scorpion, Prowler, or whatever, to fucking kill Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's that easy. And then, yeah, sure, team up with Daredevil.
It's
Introduce Miles
literally
Morales.
every other every other Spider-Man arc we've had back
Yeah, I know.
since 1963.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. Here we are.
There's ways to make it make sense, and there's ways to make it crazy.
Sony
Sony
will find a way.
seems like they want to make it crazy. Anyway, I dropped our
You wanna
our
get-
one F-bomb for the show.
All right,
so
PG-13,
It's gonna
we're
be
good.
rated R. It's going to be rated R if we do another one, and we might do another one.
Well, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Let's get nuts, and that's not a segue to Batman. It's a segue to more Spider-Man talk.
More Miles Morales talk, nonetheless.
More morale. Also, a movie that I'm almost guaranteed to enjoy more than I will enjoy. The fourth Spider-Man movie, live action, an animated Spider-Man movie. What an animated Spider-Man movie? That'll never work.
I've heard
or
those are
it'll
really
win
good.
Oscars. Yeah. This is kind of a mess, this story, but it was out there, so I almost wouldn't talk about it. But I feel like it was a big deal, and I feel like we should clarify. It was reported by a reporter that Steve and I trust quite a bit, Jeff Snyder. We talk about him on this podcast. We report on a lot of his scoops. Jeff Snyder reported last week in his newsletter that Beyond the Spider-Verse had been delayed. Or had he? More or less, there was a lot of confusion surrounding this story. And I listened to an episode of his podcast where he kind of talked about what happened. He wrote in his newsletter this past week that he had, quote, heard over Labor Day weekend that chunks of Beyond the Spider-Verse had been thrown out. So people read that newsletter and spit it out real quick, interpreted it maybe incorrectly, or definitely incorrectly, and saying on Labor Day weekend, the creators of Beyond the Spider-Verse threw out a bunch of the movie, like threw out fully rendered, finished animation, which is not true. Snyder was talking about things like ideas, concept art, maybe storylines, some plot points, but like, they're still making this movie. Like they didn't scrap the entire movie. Some people were saying the whole thing's been thrown out and they're starting over. Like was never the case. And he also stated that because now Spider-Man 4 is more or less being fast-tracked at Marvel, it might affect the release date for Beyond the Spider-Verse. People took that and interpreted that to mean that Beyond the Spider-Verse was going to be further delayed. Then producer Chris Miller took to social media to say nothing has been scrapped and the reels are coming along nicely. I think the composer for Beyond the Spider-Verse also posted something like, don't believe everything you read on the internet. Jeff Snyder apologized for the confusion, although he stands by his original reporting and blames, anxious internet people for trying to grab headlines. But also points out that this was a movie that was supposed to come out in March of this year. The original due date was March 2024. So, and it currently has no official release date. So, they're not throwing it out, but it's not that everything's going 100% okay, because if it was, you would have hit your date already.
Yeah.
So kind of a big hubbub to say people thought Spider-Verse was going to be delayed. It's not. But it also isn't dated. Yeah. So it's hard to say whether it's delayed when there isn't a date for the movie. And another point that he brought up was just, him saying that Spider-Man 4 could cause a delay of Beyond the Spider-Verse. It's like, yeah, because if you have a sequel to a $2 billion movie, as we're just talking about, and yeah, Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse are Oscar-winning and acclaimed films, but the live action makes more money. So, like, that's going to be the priority over Beyond the Spider-Verse, no matter what. Like, Tom Holland starring in a live-action Spider-Man movie is going to take precedence because they don't want two Spider-Man movies coming out,
the same year,
back-to-back weeks or back-to-back months. Maybe not even the same year. Exactly. Yeah, it might be too much.
No, that said, they're pushing Spider-Man 4 over probably the two best comic book movies that have ever been made.
They're up there. Like, they're in the conversation.
It's definitely in those two are easily in the top 10, probably in the top 5, and might be 1 and 2.
I mean, I love Into Into the Spider-Verse more than I love Across the Spider-Verse, but I do love Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Like
Across had a lot of setup, a lot of things that you could see are, in Empire Strikes Back.
That's great. It's great. I might have said this on the podcast before. I think Across the Spider-Verse is too long because it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes or something like that. But I love every frame of that movie. And when I'm watching it, I'm like, yeah, it totally earns its runtime. It like, I don't know what you would cut out. All of this is great, but I still think it's just too long. It's just taking too long.
Now,
So
one thing
I don't know how to fix it.
I do think if they land the plane and beyond, that Across, sorry, nomenclature still gets me.
I know, yeah.
Across will increase in quality or like reviews.
Well, I don't think the quality's bad. I just think it's
you know
too
what
long.
I mean. Like if they bring a lot of the threads that they left hanging in Across to fruition, and there's a resolution to them, then I feel like it's going to rise in a lot of people's estimation. Because I don't think there was really a problem with anything in that movie.
I don't think so either, and I don't think there's many people that don't like it.
No,
that was
not at all. I think
acclaimed, yeah.
But I think it universally is below Into, and I think if some of those things come to resolution, that it may like come up to par with it.
Absolutely, yeah. So. It could. It's a big plane to land.
It is,
but I am heartened to think of how I think wasn't originally it was just going to be a second movie, and then they had to split it into two. It was like way too much. So like this has to be 2 movies, so they know how it's going to end, Right. And if the quality of the first 2 shows us anything, then they know how they're going to get there. And so, So great. So that's some Spider-Man talk. Anything else about Spider-Man you want to talk about before we move on to DC?
No.
Do you want to talk about the Venom trailer, or you didn't watch the Venom?
No,
it's just more of what you.
It's more of Venom.
Expect.
Like
it's more.
I finally got around to watching those 2 movies, and they were fun, stupid movies.
Yep. Yeah.
Are they going to win an award? No, but are they fun? Sure.
The effects look good. CG looks good.
Yeah.
In the new trailer, but I'm not going to rush to the theater to see it. I haven't seen the other 2 in theaters. I can't imagine I would go to see this in the theater.
Right.
But I'll get there at some point. It's fine. It's just not hashtag not my Venom. I don't know. Speaking of not my, who's not my Hal Jordan? Josh Brolin.
So
said no.
Right. In something that would normally be a one shot, we had to bring this into the main rundown because we had talked about it as much as we did last week.
Exactly. Yep. Just wanted to update on the story we talked about last week. Josh Brolin was offered the role of Hal Jordan. He has turned it down and will not be playing Hal Jordan in the HBO series Lanterns. As we reported last week also, 2 other names on the list were Matthew McConaughey and Ewan McGregor. No word on whether they've even been offered the role. There may not be an offer on the table for either of them, but they were just on a list somewhere. Right. That doesn't mean anything.
This does keep the dreams that Mike has of Ewan McGregor alive.
I mean, he wouldn't be my dream casting, but
of those 3, though, I believe you waxed very poetic on where he was.
He was my favorite of those 3. I also heard the name Timothy Olyphant this week. I think he would be good Hal Jordan.
I could see
as well. He'd be very good, I think.
Yeah. From everything you've told me about the character, I feel like he could fit in that.
Yeah. Agreed. So take that with what you will. Hopefully we hear something about DC finding their Hal Jordan sometime soon. And moving on to more bat talk, or penguin talk, I should say. Talking spiders and bats this week on the old Multiverse Report. Jumping back to Spider Sony real quick. When does Kraven come out?
Kraven's going to come out.
It's going to come out. Is it? Oh, it's Christmas. Didn't they move it to Christmas?
You know what I want to see on Christmas? Kraven the Hunter.
Kraven the Hunter.
It is coming out to December. On December 13th.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Oh, man. Imagine if it's good. It's like maybe just the best movie we've ever seen.
I mean, no, but...
Can't imagine that's going to happen.
I can see it coming out and it not being as bad as we think it'll be, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that after watching that trailer. So
me either. Anyway, I just thought of that and wanted to jump back. Now we're moving on to some Bat talk. Last week we had some quotes from Matt Reeves regarding the Batman Part 2. This week we have more quotes from Matt Reeves regarding the Batman Part 2, but also the Penguin series, which comes out this week, Thursday, the 19th. Yeah, Thursday, September 19th.
So we get Agatha and the Penguin in the same week?
I forgot that Agatha's coming out this week.
Yeah. I got reminded of it like 2 hours ago.
Yeah. Exciting. And what then we talked about last week that Skeleton Crew and something else, Creature Commandos, is going to be on the same time, December.
Yeah.
They're both coming out early December too. Yeah. Wow. All right. Disney and Warner Brothers going toe to toe.
Agatha's the 18th and this is the 19th.
Yeah. All right. Well, at least they're not the same day. That makes it easier to watch. By the way, I didn't put any of this in here, but I am hearing really good reactions to the Penguin. Like people saying this show has no reason being as good as it is. It shouldn't possibly be this good. I'm hearing people are comparing it to like Breaking Bad and The Sopranos and stuff, like insane comparisons. Oh, wow. So I'm hoping that it delivers. Matt Reeves gave us a definitive answer this week on whether or not we'll see Robert Pattinson's Batman in The Penguin, something that you and I have talked about last couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, quote, Rob is not going to be in the show. I'd rather take that Band-Aid off now. We did talk about all that, but we felt the best way to do it was to go on a grand exploration of a guy grabbing for power in this moment. I'm a point of view filmmaker. When I'm doing a Batman story, Batman and Bruce is going to be the main point of view. To explore the Rogues Gallery, they could never get the real estate that we can do in a series, meaning they don't have enough time in a Batman movie to give so much screen time to the origin of a character or to develop a character like that so much. But they can do more in a series because they have more time. So he said that. And so Batman is in this show only as a sense that he's a presence. You are aware that all these events began because of the Riddler, but the Riddler doesn't appear and Batman doesn't appear. As much as that's a bummer, I think it's very smart for him to come out and say, yeah, he's not going to be in it. So don't be waiting with bated breath till the end of the last episode and then get mad that he wasn't in it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he knows fans will do that. So no Batman, but the presence of Batman. I'm sure they'll mention him in some way. Probably the Riddler as well. Goes on to say regarding the Penguin, saying that apparently elements of the Penguin story was initially going to be part of the second film of the Batman Part 2, but had to split it out. Like he said, they couldn't really do enough. They didn't have enough time to really dig in and explore the character the way they should, so it became a show. He said, we came up with the idea to do the Penguin. That was something where I had always intended to continue Penguin's story and wanted to tell the story of his beginning of rise to power, because we know that he's introduced in the Batman, kind of a mid-level, sort of overlooked, mocked figure who's not yet in anyone's eyes as the Kingpin we come to know him as in the lore. And so that was deliberate because I wanted, whereas it wasn't Batman's origin story, I wanted the origin stories of these other characters of this Rogues Gallery. And that story was originally going to be the entree into the next movie. And he was also asked, will there be a Batman Part 3? He says, yes, that is still the plan. I mean, it's sticking very closely to the path we envisioned. Why do you think that's a weird quote for me? Not the stuff about the Penguin. That's just cool. But like, is there going to be a Batman Part 3? Yes, that is still the plan. And then he says, I mean, it's sticking very closely to the path we envisioned. What?
And yeah.
The second part of that I don't understand. Why do you say yes, that's the plan?
What's his face there? His ghostwriter on the first one that's actually writing it on this one.
Mattinson Tomlin?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's probably the we, but
that's probably the we.
Yeah.
But is it him and Warner Brothers? Is it him and James Gunn? Whatever? Like him and just his crew?
Well, and to say it's definitively the plan and then, well, I mean, it's sticking very
that's what
closely.
I mean.
It is odd, but
Why say it's definitive? Like, is he saying that there might be more than 3? Is he saying that we only wanted to do no? Because he says that's still the plan. I just don't understand why he would like correct himself. But also
Yeah.
probably reading into it way more than I need to. Doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm very excited about the Penguin series because I think he is somewhat of an overlooked villain because he can be pretty goofy sometimes in the comics, or he's very Danny DeVito's Penguin was a great mix of threatening and terrifying, but also goofy joke at the same time.
Oh yeah.
How is a guy that waddles around and quacks and physically looks like a penguin going to be any real threat at all? But I think this Colin Farrell version is the first version we've really had that you believe is like a real person, kind of, and you believe that he can make the moves that I believe we're going to see him make in this series to like rise up from and kind of control the Gotham underworld in a more gritty, grounded world. So I don't know. I'm really excited about that. That seems like what Reeves is talking about. Now, I had to add this quote in because it's hilarious and I totally warranted, I believe, from Colin Farrell in promoting the Penguin, was asked about the possibility of Penguin season 2. Because I feel like you never know with these like tie-in shows that are basically between movies, like like Marvel stuff or Star Wars stuff. You never know if those things are going to get a season 2. Like, is this just plugging a hole between these two movies, or is this like a genuine story that you want to continue? Like, we're not going to get a WandaVision season 2. That was just a one series thing, and it was great, but it was to like bridge the gap of this between these characters or whatever, and set up whatever comes in the future. So it's a fair question, to Colin Farrell on the possibility of a Penguin season 2. But keep in mind, Colin Farrell has to undergo a lot of prosthetics to become this character. And so when he was asked about the possibility of season 2, he said the following: I don't know, man. Don't get me wrong. I loved it, but it got in on me a little bit. By the end of it, I was bitching and moaning to anyone. Oh, we're becoming an R-rated podcast as I read this quote, just so you know. Click that not for kids button, Steve.
Fair enough.
By the end of it, I was bitching and moaning to anyone who would listen to me that I fucking wanted it to be finished. I tried to remind them that I had grumpy gratitude. I was still grateful and still honored. I grew up watching Burgess Meredith, and then Danny DeVito was my Penguin. So being a part of the lineage of that storytelling, I really did feel privileged. But by the end of it, Lauren, the showrunner, said, look, if I could find a way that it makes sense, would you talk about it? A season 2? And I said, absolutely. And maybe in a year I would. But when I finished, I was like, I never want to put that fucking suit on and that fucking head on again.
Mm-hmm.
Although after that amazing quote, he did ultimately refer to the series as a, quote, really powerful experience. I totally understand that. Like, that's so much makeup and so much stuff to go through be in all day filming. I guess I don't know how many episodes it is, 8 or 10 episodes, probably. Like, that's a lot for an actor to do all the time. And he's already going back for Batman Part 2, so he's got to do it again next year anyway.
Right.
So, I don't know. Maybe the fate of the Penguin, the fate of the Penguin character may lie in how willing Colin Farrell is to keep putting those prosthetics on. Or unless he does it so much that until he just becomes an older guy that just happens to look like that. So they don't have to do as much.
Yeah, he just ages explicitly into.
Yeah.
Like they have to just put some minor touch up on him and that's it now.
Right. Ooh, sorry, I'm knocking my microphone around. Steve, what do you think about the Penguin series? Are you planning on watching it?
Somewhere in my spare time I will. I'm actually quite excited about it, but
you don't have a ton of spare time lately.
No. This fall is it's personal. Yeah, no. There's a lot going on. Lisa and I were going down through it the other day. We're like, how did that happen?
You said yes to all of it.
Yeah, that inability to say no.
Tough.
Yeah.
Tough. I've gotten better at it. I got asked to be. I got two different requests to be in a band in the last month.
Yeah.
Or month and a half, and I had to say no to both of them, even though I love doing that. I was like, you know what? Too much.
I don't love coaching soccer, but guess who's coaching soccer?
Wow, I didn't realize that. Wait, did I? I did.
That I'm coaching soccer?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's Tuesdays and Saturdays, and then Cub Scouts is
Wednesdays and also other days sometimes.
Yeah. So fun.
A lot, man. This podcast is Sundays.
It is, but that's at like 9:30 at night, so that doesn't count in the grand numbers.
But you could be asleep right now.
I could be. I wouldn't be, but I could be.
Could be. Or you could be watching Rings of Power, or next week's episode of The Penguin.
It's true. Or I could be watching Solo, a Star Wars story.
That's true. I'm not trying to talk you out of doing this podcast, by the way. That sounded like I might have been like, don't you want to free up your Sunday nights?
Things? God damn it, Mike, I do, but I also enjoy talking.
I'm going to see if I can get Steve to quit the podcast
on
while
air.
we're recording the podcast.
Well, we're in one of our most busy ones we've done in a while.
Yeah. It's going to have a personal conversation about our schedules in the middle of the show.
Yeah,
and
why
then
not?
try to get him to quit. So yeah, this was a late edition. I was putting the rundown together, and I was like, I something about Star Wars this week. I know, but I can't remember what it was, and I couldn't find it on whatever site, and because it was a video that I watched on like an Instagram reel or something, and then our friend of the pod, Matt Paseda, sent it to us. Shout out to Matt, and reminded me, oh yeah, Donald Glover talked a little bit about Star Wars.
We're shouting out to him even though we know he won't listen.
No. Matt regularly sends us like, hey guys, did you see this story? You know, like on Monday mornings, he'll be like, did you hear that Josh Brolin turned down the Hal Jordan? Yeah, we talked about it for an hour last night.
Yep.
Did you hear Daniel Cretton is directing Spider-Man 4? Yeah, you can hear all we think about it. If you want to listen to our podcast.
If you'd like to be more in depth, we're not going to type it to you. Go listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
Yep. You know
Just
who
kidding,
did,
Matt. We love you. Are you frozen?
No,
okay.
no,
You were perfectly still and not making any noise.
I was mid segue. I was like, never mind.
Okay.
Because I forgot what it was after you mentioned Matt again. So
okay,
I'm sure it was good.
Well, Donald Glover, talented person, once played Lando Calrissian in a movie called Solo: A Star Wars Story.
That's just his title. Donald Glover, talented person.
He's got too many other things. You can't just list all of his stuff.
Right.
Writer and musician and
Right.
actor and Lando Calrissian. You know,
I still love that he's the only person I've ever heard of that has utilized, back in the dawn of the internet, the Wu-Tang name generator professionally.
Yes. Yeah, it's where Childish Gambino came from.
Yeah. I got reminded of that about a couple of days ago, and I was like, wow.
Nice.
Yeah. Forgot about that.
He is saying that he's going to retire his Childish Gambino character.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know if that means he's retiring from rapping, or if he's just going to not.
It might just be
just try something else.
Changing styles or doing something different. He doesn't seem like one to stop the wheels anywhere.
True. Or it could be that he knows he's going to be so wrapped up in Star Wars that he's not going to have time to make music anymore, which would be a bummer for music fans, but not a bummer for Star Wars fans. At least those ones that are fond of his portrayal of Lando Calrissian, as am I.
I don't know if I ever saw somebody that wasn't. I feel like
remember
everything coming out of Solo, that was like one of those universally solid takes.
See, yep, I felt that way too until I listened to the Season of Star Wars Minute where they were covering Solo.
Yeah.
And a fair amount of their guests didn't like I was shocked every time. They would be like, he was like doing too much of like an impersonation. Like they were comparing it to Alden Ehrenreich's Han Solo.
Yeah.
It was like, this generalizing, and I can't name one person that actually said this, one guest, because there was a few of them, but they would say like Alden Ehrenreich was good because he wasn't necessarily he wasn't trying to do an impression of Harrison Ford. He was just playing Han Solo. Where they felt Donald Glover was trying to do an impression of Billy D. Williams, and that bothered them a little bit more. And it doesn't bother me at all. I think he just sounds like Lando. Like he's doing.
I think
he is
Lando.
changing his voice and his cadence, but because that's how Lando talks. You got to talk like Lando. I don't know. It's a fine line. I get what they're saying.
No,
I think it's a fine line, and it works for me.
Yeah,
for sure.
It didn't bother me in the least. To me, it seemed like he was playing Lando, not that he was overly attempting to channel Billy D.
Yes, I completely agree with you. I remember when I saw that movie, when I first, because you hear him talking before you see him, and I heard him say whatever he was saying in that sabacc table, and I was like, oh my God, like I gasped. I was like, he sounds exactly like him. Amazing. I was in, and I am it. Anyway, he's doing an interview with the Wall Street Journal this week, a video interview talking about retiring his Childish Gambino character, and also was asked what he wants to bring to Star Wars with his Lando movie. It's a movie now, right?
Think so, maybe.
It was going to be a series, but now I think when him and his brother took over, they turned it into a movie, which I think is smart. Just put out a movie. Lucasfilm, put out a Star Wars movie, please. Please.
The only one they're going to put out is the one that's named horribly.
I know, but I'll take that one too. I just want to see Star Wars in a movie theater. Anyway, he said about what he wants to bring to Star Wars, he said, I just want it to be fun. Like, as a Star Wars fan myself, I think it's important that there just needs to be more fun being had. It's very hard to have fun right now. It's tough because there are very serious things happening, and those are the only things that connect us, weirdly. So I get why things are serious, but part of the human experience, I believe, is we have a responsibility to have an enjoyment. And I just feel like we're lacking in that department. Star Wars, I love it, but sometimes it be super serious. Sometimes it be like way too serious. Like everything that has to do with the Skywalkers is like so serious. Lando, I think the best part about him is that he's a scoundrel, and I feel like people can relate to that. And he's probably like, man, this war is whack. I just need money, which I feel everyone can relate to. So I just want to bring fun to Star Wars. I just want it to be fun. And that's a fun quote, and it's a cool quote.
And it is true. It's one of those things where it doesn't need to, and we've said it for all of the alternate things, it doesn't need to feel the same as every other Star Wars.
Oh, for sure not.
Lando should not feel like Andor.
Yeah, and I don't think Solo feels like the rest of Star Wars.
No,
Solo
feels
like
very heisty. Like
it feels very Star Wars to me, but it doesn't feel like a Skywalker saga film,
right?
In a way that I think you and I, just to clarify, you and I both like that movie quite a bit. Yeah. Solo. There's people that really hate it. I don't understand why people hate it, unless they're just so hung up on Harrison Ford not being in it.
I couldn't figure it out the first time. Like when it came out, I couldn't figure it out, and I can figure it out less now.
Yeah, I liked it when it came out, and now I love it. I watch it often.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, you've definitely seen it more times than I, but
yeah, I think so. I like this attitude quite a bit, but it makes me nervous for the Lando film and its success, because you and I also know that there are a lot of Star Wars fans that don't like fun and think that it has to be gritty and real and for grown-ups all the time. And they don't like it when there's jokes, and they don't like it when things feel different, and they don't like it when things change and don't feel like the Star Wars that they saw when they were 9 years old. So, and I think that is what, I mean, Chris Miller and Phil Lord were making Solo originally, and they were making more of a comedy, and they got fired after making 80% of that movie. So that seems like they were trying to make a movie that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
And I think the resulting Solo is fun, but I think what if the Lord Miller version would have been radically different, maybe a little too silly, but I'm just hoping that it's the right amount of fun.
Yeah.
And it's enough fun for Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger to continue with it and not shelve it. You know what I mean? And
I do.
not have this one become one of the things that doesn't get released.
I do all too well.
Yeah. So this is one of 5 Star Wars films that we know is in development. 6, if you count the Sean Levy one that we don't know anything about.
Is that
And the Taika
including the
Waititi.
Taika one?
So say 8. Because okay, so let's go through it. So
Lando, Mandalorian,
Lando.
and Grogu.
Mandalorian and Grogu. That's the next one we're gonna see.
Dawn of the Jedi, the Mangold.
Dawn of the Jedi, James Mangold.
Rey movie.
The New Jedi Order.
Yep.
Filoni.
Yep.
Verse, Mando verse. Taika, Sean Levy. 7?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Wow.
I bet 4 of them make the light of the day.
I'm pretty sure. Well, we know Mando and Grogu is happening. That's definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the Rey movie is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I would be surprised if the Filoni one doesn't happen. I think those 3 are the most likely.
And the Lando.
Those 3 are the most to not get canceled.
Yeah.
You think the Lando one is likely not going to get canceled?
I think that's moving ahead pretty. They would not have had Glover talk to the Wall Street Journal if there wasn't something going on.
I mean, of all of those movies, Lando would be like I want to see the Rey movie more than anything. That's the one that I want the most because I want to see what happens next. I just always want to see a progression of story. But after that one, it's the Lando film would be my second most anticipated.
Mine would be the Mangold and then Lando.
Yeah, I mean the Mangold one is very interesting because it's not a progression of a story, but similar to part of the reason why I liked The Acolyte is that it's so far in the past that they can do anything and it's going to feel fresh even though it's technically a prequel.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah. All right. Well, I hope Donald Glover can pull this off because I want more of him I just want more Lando in general, and I love him as Lando. So please take it. I'll take it. Make it as fun as you want it to make it there, buddy. And if Alden Ehrenreich happens to come back as Han Solo, I won't be mad.
Which he should.
Steve, do you have a comic book to review this week?
I wasn't given one, but I would like to bring up the Wolverine #1.
Yep. Oh, nice. Oh, look at that cover.
Yeah, that is the JTC negative art cover. This is actually, I believe, the same or similar cover to the one he put out for San Diego Comic-Con back in maybe 2020-ish, 2019-ish.
Okay.
And it was an exclusive back then, so I'm mildly surprised they slapped it on a normal #1. But Saladin Ahmed took over the Wolverine arc. He of, in my brain, Miles Morales fame.
Sure.
And then Martin Coccolo took over as the art on it with Brian Valenza on colors and Corey Petit on letters. Overall, the whole they brought Cyber back. One of Wolverine's old commanding officers in the Canadian military, and with an adamantium skin.
Yeah.
And then basically Logan is feral in the Canadian wilderness. Kurt finds him, and Wolverine Nightcrawler things ensue.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Good start to a solo series.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
I caught up on Poison Ivy. And I was telling you about this, but I read the first issue of the Universal Monsters Frankenstein run, which I thought was great. And I love Universal Monsters. Those old movies I think are great. I watched them when I was a kid. Frankenstein's my favorite. I think it's a masterpiece, or close to a masterpiece. And this is firmly in the movie universe, it's taking more references to the movie than to the book, which are very different. And there's like a little kid involved in a certain way that makes it very creepy. I guess yeah, it's good. I was wondering if I should say it, and I'm going to say it. This kid has recently lost his father. Father's recently died, and Victor Frankenstein and his assistant Fritz dig up this kid's father and use parts of his father to build the Frankenstein monster.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid follows him and sees the monster and recognizes, his dad's arms. It's like creepy.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never thought of that before. But of course, like why, for all time, the story has been that they dig up recently deceased bodies and sew them together to make the monster. Of course, why wouldn't somebody recognize, like, hey, that's my dad's face, or that's my dad's shoulder? Yeah, I don't know how you'd recognize a shoulder, but like that's a cool in for that story, I think, in a way to tell it from a new perspective, put a new twist on it. It's really cool. So I highly recommend Frankenstein book so far, based on one issue. I think those have only been 4 issues. They've done Dracula, Creature, and the Black Lagoon, and now Frankenstein. And I would be shocked if they don't try to do some kind of team up thing, even though that'd be kind of lame.
Yep.
Anyway, this week in your local comic book store, you may find copies of Avengers number 18, Babs number 2, Batman Day is this week. There's always like it's the 27th, I think. And it's because his first appearance was Detective Comics 27. So they do a lot of like Batman re-releases of classic issues. This Batman Day, we're getting a re-release of the Tom King, and this sounds silly, but it is excellent. Batman Elmer Fudd team up number 1, really good. I know, Steve, it's really good.
Okay, I trust you.
I read it digitally. It's very, very good. Batman One Bad Day, Riddler, Halloween issue 1, and Detective Comics 27, and some more Batman re-releases will be out there if you want to pick those up. Also, Batman Superman World's Finest number 31, Catwoman number 68, Dazzler number 1, Deadpool number 6, Deathlock 50th Anniversary Special number 1, Destro number 4, Falling in Love on the Path to Hell number 4, Fire and Ice number 3, G.I. Joe number 310, Huge Detective number 2. That's a fun name. Huge Detective. I don't know.
Just a big one. It's fine.
Ice Cream Man number 41, Incredible Hulk number 17, Jenny Sparks number 2, Jim Henson's Labyrinth number 1, John Constantine Dead in America number 9, Lilith number 1, Powerpuff Girls number 3, Resurgence number 1, Spider-Boy Annual number 1, Spirits of Vengeance number 1, Star Wars Darth Vader number 50, Superman 18, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Nation number 1, Thundercats Chitara number 3, Ultimate X-Men number 7, Void Rivals 1, Wonder Woman 13, X Factor 2, and X-Men number 4.
Yeah.
Any picks from this one? Any picking them ups?
X-Men, and Mutant Nation, I believe, are the 3 that are getting pulled.
Awesome.
Falling in Love on the Path to Hell, 1 and 2 were good. I've not read 3, and I will see if that is worthwhile before I grab 4.
Yeah,
but that's a solid. 1 and 2 were solid.
I know. Remember you telling me about it.
You?
I don't know.
Hold on. How does Spider-Boy get an annual?
Dude, I don't know.
Why are they pushing that so hard?
They're pushing Spider-Boy so hard, and I
don't get
something about it I just don't like. I haven't read one word of one issue of Spider-Boy, but it just doesn't. It's just not something that I want. I don't know. Maybe I'm just becoming a angry old man. But
get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn, Spider-Boy. I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna pick any of these. These are on my list. Honestly, I for real might pick up just to have a physical copy of the Batman Elmer Fudd book because it's really good. How do you feel about Deathlock as a character? Is he a big enough character to get a 50th anniversary special?
I was kind of wondering that. Like, I expected you to be like, oh, yeah, he's big enough or whatever. It just didn't dawn on me that I was like, I don't know. He just seems like he's been around.
He was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? That was like a slow reveal that
Yeah.
character was turning into Deathlock, which I thought was really great.
But also, like, who has cared about Deathlock besides that?
I know. I mean, they must think he's a popular enough character if they're going to spend the money to print a 50th anniversary, but I don't know.
I guess.
But he's not a popular enough character that they're like putting him in a movie.
No, he's not really showing up anywhere.
I know. It's not like he has an ongoing.
Yeah, no,
maybe it's just like a. This could just be like for the rabid Deathlock fans, like I'm sure there are. There's got to be.
Some guy's got like
every D-list comic book character has some rabid fan. You know,
got like a full Deathlock sleeve tattoo. And,
yeah, somewhere out there. World's a big place.
Well, if
anyway,
you're listening
I did
to
think
this
it was.
and you happen to enjoy Deathlock that much, Godspeed.
Godspeed. And hey, you get an anniversary special.
Yep.
50 years of Deathlock, everybody. Congratulations, we did it.
We got there, yay.
We got there. We did it, Joe. I am interested to see what Huge Detective is. I mean, it's on issue 2. I missed issue 1.
It's literally just a dude that happens to be like 6'6".
Is that really it?
I have no idea, but that's what I can picture.
I was thinking like
he goes to sit down in an office chair and is like slightly too big for it. Everything is just mildly inconvenient for him. It's a whole comic about that.
Yeah, who knows? Funny name for a book. We got one shot for you tonight. There was one other thing about. What?
It's literally just a huge detective.
Just a regular person?
No, like huge. Kind of looks like Frankenstein's monster and is a giant. Like
okay.
Jack and the Beanstalk. Perspective giant.
That's actually cool because then I feel like it makes it harder to solve mysteries if you're that tall. Like if your head is in the clouds, how do you dust for fingerprints or whatever? You know what I mean?
Yep. That's what it's looking like.
Well, find out how when you pick up your new issue of Huge Detective in comic book stores this week. Speaking of weird multiversal stuff, I read a rumor this week, and again, it's a rumor, so we shouldn't even really be talking about it, but that the script or the treatment for the MCU X-Men movie doesn't include Wolverine at all, which I'm 100% totally fine with. But there's a rumor that the reason that it's not including Wolverine is that there's a potential for Hugh Jackman to continue to play Wolverine in and beyond even Secret Wars, which again just makes me furious. It makes me think that I'm just gonna really burrow into this old man yelling, get these superhero multiverses off my lawn, please.
No, I'm with you there.
Yeah. So not much to say about that. Plus, it's a rumor. But what I thought was cool, and jumping out of the DC, Marvel, Star Wars talk of the last few weeks, we got the first photo, the set photo, the full costume of Red Sonja from the upcoming film. And she looks like a total badass. I feel like I keep forgetting that they're making a Red Sonja movie. Because I feel like it's been taking quite a bit of time. Matilda Luntz is the woman that's playing Red Sonja. And so, there's a photo of her not in her chainmail bikini, which I think would be a little too much. But in just like super badass armor. She's got blood spilled all over her, and she's got the like kind of cross on her eyes and head, like from the Gail Simone run. She just looks super badass. So if there's any Red Sonja fans out there, you should check out this image. It's not really spoilery at all. It gives you a good look at what the costume's going to be. And it looks like Red Sonja. It's cool. It's a hard character to get right. I think it's got to be in the right hands, and hopefully it is. I'll be excited to see a trailer for this movie when it comes out, and she's looking great. And with that, that's all I got. Steve, you got anything else?
No, nothing here. I'd say if you are still hanging with us, please feel free to like and subscribe and reach out to us on any socials. The Multiverse Report on those. Check out patreon.com/the Multiverse Report. Support us there. Or no, that's about it. TheMultiverseReport.com.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah. I gotta apologize. I feel like I've been really slacking on the social media posts this week, but I'll try to get back on this now that my son is more adjusted to school, because that's a whole thing. That's a whole thing
Every year.
every year. But yeah, so hopefully I'll be able to get some stuff up soon. But that's it. So as the two suns set over the burnt corpses of Owen and Bru Lars, we say thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the multiverse.